Corrections are encouraged.
Can we get a cup of coffee in here, please?
Damn good coffee and hot.
Well, it's damn good coffee and hot. Yes, it is. Good morning, folks. It is Wednesday, right? It's Wednesday? Is it Wednesday? Feels like a Tuesday, but it is a Wednesday. It's Wednesday, July 20th, 2022. How are you? Probably hot, right? Heat wave all over United States and Europe. If you live in the northern hemisphere, chances are you're pretty hot. It's the dog days. We dig it. I dig it. A lot of people complaining about the weather. Not me. I I acknowledge the weather, but I'm not complaining about it. I actually love the summertime. I live for the summertime because 6 months from now, I will definitely be complaining about being under snow or just freezing cold. So I take this and love it. I'll take it and love it. How are you today? Today, Dean O'Hara will be my guest host. He will be in probably guest co-host. He will probably be in about 9:30 this morning. And then our guest will be Dangerous Dave Sidwell. Dave, dangerous is not an exaggeration when I uh, added to the name Dave Sidwell. Um, Dave is a comedian who he just likes. I don't know what makes him tick, but he's definitely got the attention of people in government, in law enforcement, in the FBI, in our intelligence agencies, for things he said on social media. And so when he's on the show today, and he's been on the show before, I like Dave, good guy, but just knowing him probably gets you on a list. So maybe I should have told Dean this before he agreed to be a co-host today. Anybody who talks to Dave, uh, and anybody probably who listens to Dave talk, will be put on a list of some kind within the United States government. This is just a fact. The guy, and I don't know exactly what he says. That well, we'll ask him when he comes on. That just what exactly is it about him that the U.S. government and intelligence agencies are so interested in? What exactly does he do to spark their interest? Uh, so we'll ask him about that and get to the bottom of it. Now, I mentioned the heat, and this is not political. But the guy I'm going to talk about is political. Steve Bannon. You know, Steve Bannon is on trial for contempt of Congress. And yesterday in Washington, D.C., I believe it was 98 degrees and very humid. And Steve Bannon was wearing 3 collared shirts. And he does this every day. You know, for somebody in as high a position as he was, a senior advisor to the president of the United States, he's the most unkempt dirtbag son of a bitch who ever lived. And explain the multi layers of collared shirts. Now, I wouldn't do that in winter. There are times when I'd have a T-shirt and a collared shirt on top of that. Sometimes maybe a blazer. This guy wears 3 collared shirts every day, long sleeve shirts on top of each other. Aside from the fact that he doesn't seem to shave or bathe or ever comb his hair, it's just remarkable to see somebody in a position of power and influence be a total fucking dirtbag. There's a picture of him on Twitter. I passed it now. I can't get back to it, but I would look up Molly Jong Fast, and she has a good picture of him. And the caption is, "It's just too many shirts." But this is not unusual for him. What's unusual to me is that he keeps it up in almost 100-degree weather with incredible humidity. Very weird stuff. Anyway, getting still getting some comments on the stuff from Cat Show the other day on Monday. Cat and Joe Walters seem to be getting a lot of comments on different platforms about that show. I didn't think it was all that comment worthy of that show. It felt, I always appreciate Kat, and I think she did a great job. And Joe was, it was fine, a fine guest, but it wasn't one of those shows where it wasn't all that eventful, and not just to see a whole lot of commenting on. I realize I have not brought my phone in the room, so cannot open the phone lines today unless I get up and get out and go get it. You know what? Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll introduce the sponsors piece while I go get the phone and hook that up. How about that? Bear with me a while. True Fire. True Fire is the place to go if you want to learn guitar, and I'll talk more about that when I come back. Guitar online, it's the best teachers on the planet. You can learn what you want. You can choose from the best teachers on the planet and learn the courses that you want to learn. They deliver content that is structured and not haphazard like you would get if you went on YouTube and just said, I want to learn to play this song, I want to play this. They give you a good foundation so that you can play any song in any style. True Fire, check it out.
Over 2 million guitar players worldwide learn, practice, and play with TrueFire. Our learning tools and massive library of video lessons will ignite your technical skills, harmonic knowledge, rhythm playing, and soloing chops. TrueFire's educators are the best in the biz, from Grammy Award winners to world-renowned artists. You'll have access to an unparalleled faculty of over 300 top-notch blues, rock, jazz, country, fingerstyle, and acoustic guitar educators. Using our desktop and mobile apps, you'll work with TrueFire's multi-angle video lessons on any device, anytime, anywhere. Integrated learning tools such as video synced tab and notation, slow-mo, looping, practice jam tracks, and many more handy controls accelerate your learning experience. TrueFire style-specific learning paths guide you every step of the way. Use our assessment tools to find your starting point, then follow our lesson recommendations and track your progress as you work through your personalized TrueFire study plan. Progress faster with private one-on-one instruction, group lessons, multi-track video jams, live streams, song lessons, student forums, TrueFire's Riff magazine, premium jam tracks, and much, much more. With thousands of 5-star ratings and reviews from amateur and pro players alike, you'll find yourself in good company with the world's most comprehensive guitar learning platform. Grab your guitar and ignite your musicality. Sign up free for an all-access trial today.
Grab your guitar and I don't know what they say about musicality. True Fire. Links in the description. Speaking of learning to play the guitar, I think it was Friday, starting the middle of last week, started getting somebody in the chat room going by the handle eVillain2. With some, it looked like just a troll, and I think he very much was a troll. He's banned now. So I guess unless he finds another way in, which people do when you ban them in the chat rooms on YouTube, we won't hear from him again. But why I'm thinking of him now is because he asked me to play a C major 7 chord for for someone. Grab that guitar and play a C major 7 chord. Why? I need to know you can play it. Why? I ended up doing it for him. And then yesterday, when Jamie was in, he said to ask Jamie to play a C major 7 chord. Like, what the fuck is this guy's problem? So I banned him. Now, people are telling me that's Evan from Scotland. I don't think it's Evan from Scotland. Evan, I think, is kind of a weird guy and sometimes misinterprets things he reads or has an expert opinion that he wants to share about things that I think are unique. I don't think he's a malicious guy. I don't think he's I don't think he would troll like that. I don't think it was him. I'm just putting that out there because I've heard from a lot of people, several people, probably 6 or 7 people have told me, "Oh, that was Evan. You shouldn't have banned him." No, I don't think that was Evan. I haven't seen Evan on Twitter in a long time. He, whoever it was, seemed to be on a first name basis with me and Jamie and people. So it's, but I asked, I don't know who it was. I don't know who it was, but be that as it may, the person is banned until I hear from him somewhere and say, "Why did you ban me?" I'll not know who he was. Are you tired of me bashing Joe Rogan yet? Of course you are, but I don't care. I just don't care. The thing about Rogan, he just can't. He can't manage speaking responsibly about anything. Now he's trending again for a number of reasons. One of them is, he's got this feud going on. This feud, a little tit for tat going on with Donald Trump now. Insults going back and forth. Who would have thought that? But that's not why he's in my radar or my vision today. With Tom Segura, a couple of days ago on his podcast, made a comment about the homeless people, and it was a conversation about homelessness. And it just strikes me, I've had a number of comedians on this program. I've had people, not just comedians, but I've had a number of people in their profession. Why it matters that some of them were comedians who have been homeless, who have experienced homelessness at some point in their life. I have. I lived in the street for a period when I lost a home due to a flood. The great flood that from the storm, the perfect storm that the movie was made out of. I lost a house to that flood and was homeless for a period of time. And I know many people who have been homeless for a period of time. The callousness and cold-hearted nature of the conversation that Rogan and Segura had. Now, these are millionaires, and they're obviously multimillionaires. They are of the opinion that could never happen to them. I'm going to share the video, and just so I can talk about it and in context here. So, this whole fucking thing, man. Every time I go to share something, I hit wrong buttons. Share screen, go over to Chrome tab and Twitter. Here we are. Okay. Now I'm going to play this video, make sure the volume is up. I go like this. That's probably a better way to do it. And watch again.
And then we're on the underpass, and there's porta potties, not one either, like 4, like a deck of porta potties. And then someone has a car parked there on the sidewalk, like partly on the sidewalk. So they're like half blocking a lane. And then they have like a canopy draped over their car, and they have just stacks of shit. And then next to it was a dresser. They had a dresser.
Jesus. So
they had their shoes in a shoe rack. There was a shoe rack. Like, this is where they live.
That's really wild. I didn't know also that, when you see stuff like that on the streets, at least in Los Angeles or maybe in California, that's protected property, like by law. You know that? Like if you were
so you're not supposed to do that.
But like that's that person's property by law. If you were to
the
go,
homeless person's property is protected?
Yes, absolutely.
Huh.
If you were to go and try to move that or take that,
you'd get arrested.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
But they wouldn't arrest you if you shot somebody. Maybe you should just go and shoot the homeless people.
I like your ideas.
Yeah. And if nobody claims it, I mean, nobody does anything about violent crime in LA anymore. It's a fucking joke.
Yeah.
They're just letting people out.
And there you have it. So what you have there is obviously clear elitism, outraged that somebody who lost their home has a porta potty to shit and piss in. Outraged that somebody who lost their home brought their dresser with them that has their life in it. Full of judgment and hate for people who are struggling to live. And the answer, and I know it was said half as a joke, I like your ideas, is to shoot people. Why? How dare you be homeless? How dare you clutter up my sidewalk with your tragic life? Rich people forget where they came from. It's a really, really heartbreaking thing to take, and that's not really out of context, folks. There's nothing out of context there. That's all. That conversation, it lacks any empathy, any compassion for mankind whatsoever. It's two guys who forgot that it could happen to them. It could still happen to them, even with $100 million contract. It could still happen. Not likely to happen to either one of them. It could happen to anybody at any time. Shit happens to people. People experience tragedies. And to say, well, how dare they have porta potties? Would you rather them just shit on the street? What is your solution? What are you offering as a way to help alleviate that problem? What are the answer here? What's the answer here? Nobody. They don't want to. The answer to them is shoot them. Get these fucking people out of my fucking street, out of my sight. They don't belong here. In my world, my rich people's world. It's a fucking cold-hearted place to be. If you were still a Joe Rogan fan after that comment, after that conversation, you need to look into your own heart, because yes, part of that was a weak attempt at humor, very dark humor. But beneath all jokes, there's a layer of truth, and I like your ideas as Segura's comeback. I like your ideas. Two fucking rich fat fucks smoking cigars, thinking the way to eliminate people who have experienced tragedy, who become an inconvenience to their fucking perfect life. Shoot them. Not very funny. I'm sorry. There's not a funny subject. But out of all the controversial things, all the stupid things Rogan has said, most of them have been just about politics and which side of the fence you're on. This one is a basic human compassion story, and it's really, really troubling to see. Now, obviously, we have a breakdown in society when so many people are ending up destitute, losing everything, and find themselves in that position. And there are definitely people who cannot accept a hand up. I don't know what the solution is, but the solution is definitely not exterminating people. Listen, you're a fan of Doug Stanhope, right? Most of my listeners know Doug Stanhope, and most of them are fans. He was homeless once. You would want to shoot him? Would you want Doug Stanhope eliminated from planet Earth because Joe Rogan finds homeless people inconvenient? You really have to think about this, folks. I mean, uh, and I admit I have bashed Rogan mercilessly for lots of shit he said, lots of dumb shit he said, irresponsibly. But if you're still a fan of his after hearing that comment, you really need to look into your own heart and say, who am I? Because if you can agree with that on any level, it's outrageous for homeless people to have porta potties. You ever use a porta potty? It's not fun. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants to be fucking homeless. That's just a fact. But if you're talking about porta potties, listen, I would rather fucking just go into the woods somewhere and relieve myself there. I would, whatever. Porta potties are really, it's a hellish experience. But to be outraged that they have this. Now, if they didn't have that, they'd be shitting on the street, and then he'd be complaining about that. So there are four porta potties lined up for homeless people, and he's outraged by that. And then he's outraged that somebody has a dresser. Oh my God, they have a dresser with their things. They got evicted. What were they supposed to do? Leave everything of their life, everything that their life had accumulated up until that point. Just leave it behind and have absolutely nothing. How dare they have a dresser? And then Segura come back as that's protected property. Oh, what an outrage that you should be and this is what they were both saying here. It's an outrage that you can't go take that homeless person's dresser and remove it because it's protected in Los Angeles and in California. I think we have a major heart problem in America. And with our elitists, people, money changes everyone, folks. You get a little money, your attitude changes. You get a lot of money, you think you're above everybody. That's elitism, cold-hearted, just uncompassionate human beings. Um, so I'm awaiting Dean O'Hara, who's my guest co-host today. I see Dave is already in the back. I'm not going to bring him in until after Dean is here. It's just probably proper podcast etiquette to wait until the co-host is in to bring the guest in. Dean is a DJ, a philosopher. I'm going to want to talk to him about some philosophy today. And a very cool guy. I met him in person for the first time in Brooklyn at a Billy Wayne Davis, Billy Dean. I'm thinking whole other thing there. Billy Wayne Davis. Billy Dean at Billy Dean, Billy Wayne Davis show in Brooklyn. Dean's a good guy, and he's been a guest on the program. And most of the people who know me and follow me on Twitter know about Dean. He's been around for a while. Dangerous Dave, and Dangerous Dave doesn't go by the moniker Dangerous Dave Sidwell. It's just something I've been calling him for since I decided that he was going to be on the, or we decided he was going to be on the show this morning. Dangerous Dave Sidwell, a very dangerous guy. Just knowing him, just talking to him will get you on a list with the United States government of some kind. I don't know why. I don't know what he does that is considered so subversive by the intelligence community. Obviously, it has a lot to do with his social media practices, things he says. But listen, I know lots of people that say outrageous shit on social media. They don't end up on government lists or having to talk to the FBI about stuff or, whatever, and being interrogated or interviewed, any of this stuff. Dave is a good guy, and I like him. He's been on the show before. But we'll get to the bottom of, and I'm sure I'm on a list now. Just having him on before, I was on a list. Inviting him back, I think he's been on twice before. Having him back get me reinforced on that list. I have not had a visit from anybody in the intelligence community to ask about Dave yet, but it's not out of the question. It might actually happen someday in the near future. Anyway, I'm going to wait until Dean gets in to actually bring Dave into the conversation. What else is going on in the world today in this whole world I'm looking on social media, of course, to see what's trending. Um, of course, I mentioned Rogan is always trending on Twitter, one thing after another. Um, Sesame Street is trending. Why is that? I should find out. Um, Sesame Workshop, the nonprofit that runs Sesame Street, says that it will conduct a bias training and thorough review of the ways in which they engage families and guests at Sesame Place after a video of a potential racial bias incident went viral online. Now, maybe we're just being a little potential racial bias incident. Uh, the Sesame Street theme park apologizes after black girl shunned by a costume character. Oh, Oscar the Grinch, or no, um, I don't know who it was, which shunned by costume character. Uh, Nothing wrong with Sesame Street. This is a comment from somebody named Larry Middleton. I'm just reading his comment here. There's nothing wrong with Sesame Street. The problem at Sesame Place is some of the employees hired from the SEPA area of South Jersey, southeastern Pennsylvania area of South Jersey, are racist. If you ever lived in the area, then you know this is, I hate to say it, generalizing, but that Philly area. Philly does have a lot of people who hate black people, white supremacists. I don't know. I don't necessarily think white supremacists and people who just hate black people are necessarily the same thing. But there are definitely people in South Philly that hate black people, whether they think of themselves as supreme or superior. They just hate. They're just haters. Uh, yeah, and you know what? Listen. I'm not making excuses for the company that hires these people, but hiring people to work as Oscar the Grouch or Big Bird, or that's not a easy position to fill. It doesn't pay a lot. Again, in the summertime, it's very hot inside those costumes. Who are you going to get? You're going to get basically you're going to, if you were a manager there, you were a hiring manager. If I were a hiring manager, chances are we wouldn't do a thorough background check on all these people. We'd just be looking to fill that position because nobody fucking wants it. You want it? You want that job? Pays $12 an hour or something, or whatever. It pays $10 an hour to go sit out in the hot sun, be friendly all day, dance around in this hot costume. No, you're gonna get some lowlives. You're definitely gonna get some lowlives applying for that job. I'm not making excuses for them, but it's just a fact and a reality of it. Dean's here now. Let's welcome in my co-host for today, my guest co-host on this run of guest co-host
Hey,
marathon. Good morning, Dean. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. You got some fancy lights going. I'm digging it.
Thanks.
Uh, how were your DJ gigs, man?
I'm good. I had one on Saturday. I just got to play everything I wanted to play. There were some people there enjoying it, and there were some people watching on Twitch too.
You streaming that stuff?
Well, at that particular place, yeah.
Yeah. So this is what I'm confused about. You're streaming it on Twitch, right?
Yeah.
And it's not original music. You don't own the rights to it. It's copyrighted
No,
music.
that's they got in trouble with that. They used to have the videos to replay for 2 months, but now they can't do it because it's copyrighted. But it's DJ. That's what DJing is.
I know. That's what DJing is, but I can't even play my own songs without copyright shit coming up. This is
It's
why I was
ridiculous.
curious.
They made it so they can't play the videos back, so I can't
Right,
share them anymore. So
right.
I'm, yeah.
Well, you
Fucking,
can. You have to get an ASCAP license or a BMI license or a sync license.
well, I have to get it myself and upload it myself.
It's really expensive, and they fuck you around hard with that stuff because they don't have because I've looked into it so many times. They don't have one that's specifically internet based sync stuff, and You have to say, well, how long is it going to be online for, and all this kind of stuff. And they base your rate that you pay on how many people you are going to watch it. And if you misestimate, they're going to charge you more after the fact. It's a whole fucking clusterfuck. They do overcomplicate it,
Sounds like a clusterfuck.
but I am for protecting the intellectual rights because as a content
I
creator,
mean, I am, but like to make it so a DJ can live stream, and you're actually promoting the music. People are hearing it who won't hear it otherwise.
that's
You know?
true. You're absolutely right. Yeah, but it's overcomplicated. We need to find a way that works for everybody, for the artist and the creator. That
I mean, like think about radio, like not just like the big radio stations, but like the independent radio stations.
right.
And that's how I found out about a lot of the music I got into was those community radio, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Pirate radio.
I'm not quite pirate, but
So how's things going for you? I see you're doing it. Well, you're not doing a complete Steve Bannon here. You have 2 shirts on, but one's the issues with Andy's T-shirt. I'm sure they appreciate the plug. Issues
I'm
with
not
Andy.
doing it too bad. I just have 2 shirts on.
But isn't it a little too hot for 2 shirts, Dean? Why not go with just 1 shirt?
I just like the way it looked. It's like not too hot in my room.
It's you moved to Harlem.
Not yet.
Oh.
I had to deal with it. They're doing a background check on me. I could be on the FBI list myself too.
Yeah, fuck now. Now that because you're gonna meet Dave today, they're gonna see that in your background
No,
check.
because I got involved in like anti-fascist activities in Portland, and I could be on the list. Let's just say that.
Oh, what happened in Portland?
I just had a group where we like promoted anti-fascist music, and we'd be at protests. And,
Wow.
like, yeah.
Did they ever anybody ever approach you and want to talk to you about that?
Not me, but there were people who wanted to. No one ever fought me, but people were fighting other people.
So how long have you been away from Portland? A long time, or?
Well, the thing is, like I've been to 30. I lived in 34 different countries, and I lived in Portland last 2016 to 2019.
Oh, so 2019. So no, you weren't there. I'm thinking because there was those protests, and they were what we were seeing on social media, which seemed to be true, but you never know. But it looked like the old SS black vans pulling up and just taking people off the streets, not giving them any Miranda. Yeah,
I heard about that. Yeah, I still have friends over there. Yeah, they did do that. Yeah.
and you know what? Nobody ever fought. That was the end of it. It was a big outrage on social media for about 2 weeks. I was stunned by that they could just come up and pull people up, take them away in black unmarked vans, no identifying which agency is even taking them with, not charging them with anything, just disappearing people. And then that story just went away. But that was in Portland. There's a lot of.
Well, I think they had to stop actually because I think it got too much. The protest didn't stop. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I don't think it's. I am an anarchist, but I don't really think it's smart to just destroy property for no reason.
Yeah, no, all right, I agree with you on that. Absolutely. But you know what? You can't blame a group for what individuals do. Maybe you can. I don't know, but
I mean, if it's a real group, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like Antifa is not a group; it's a collection of like.
It's just a fucking idea.
It's an idea.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but you know what? If you were the person who owned that property, you'd probably want to defend it, at all costs, even if that meant violence. Now, I know that's not approved by law.
Well, I mean, no, but I think like really what left-wing politics are for me about protecting the vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
And making sure they have a place. That's the main thing.
Right.
And making sure that they have a community where there's a kind of like economic justice where everyone has enough to live.
All right, I'm loving where you're going with this. I want to bring Dave into the conversation. Dave's here now, and I'm going to bring him in now. You made a comment to me yesterday because I when I told you that Dave was going to be the guest, you said, "Yeah, I've checked him out. I don't know what to make of him." You looked at his page. Me too. But I have to say he has probably, I don't know. I'm guessing here. He has multiple. I'm not going to put a number on it. He has multiple profiles on several different platforms, I think so, but they're all
Oh,
kind of similar in the same way. But yes, he's a very hard guy to figure out.
no, I kind of figure him out. Like I was like, oh, he does like stunts and Daredevil stuff. I didn't even realize he's a comedian.
Yeah, well, he's a former. Well, I guess they don't call him former. He's a vet. He's a he's a vet who has spent some time in a combat zone, and now he is a comedian. He's in the comedy world. I think he produces some shows in. He's a white guy, very white skinned white guy. But
Okay.
I believe he plays a lot of black club, or he performed in black clubs or a black area. Ladies and gentlemen, please open your ears, open your minds, and help me. Welcome back to the program, Dangerous Dave Sidwell. Dave, how are you, Dave?
What's going on, gentlemen? It's great to be back, man. I thank you, and it's great to talk to you, Dean.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, it's going great, man. Little hair of the dog this morning.
Already?
I
Wow.
had a dog too. Rum and coke, baby. Yep.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's
So,
great being single with no kids.
Thank you for getting all of us on a list. I think even the people in the chat room are on a list now because you're here today. Now, we were
You're
talking.
nobody unless you're on if you don't have an FBI file, bro. Like I put you in category like Martin Luther King Jr. and stuff. I mean, there's some heavy hitters that have FBI files.
I may well have one because I like founded like an anti-fascist music group would show up on protests. So I may well be in it. I'm having trouble with my housing background check at the moment.
So, Dave, you're in Michigan, is that right? No, Michigan?
No, Indiana. Indiana, just west of Cincinnati.
Right. And so, did I have that correct? You're in black clubs more than white clubs, right?
But yeah, for about 2 years, I performed in the black clubs more than the white clubs. And then the past year, me and some friends started booking in this little suburban town, but it wasn't really going too well because we're advertising, we're bringing comedy to people that won't travel to see comedy, and it just doesn't work out. Like you got a club set up, people come there to see comedy. But if you go and set up in a bar, you get people that are just like coming in to drink, and they're kind of disrespectful, and they don't know how to handle a comedy show. They think it's interactive. And
It's always
like,
that's always been confusing to me, like because bars are not people are going there to get pussy or get drunk. Guys are going there. Well, I shouldn't say just guys are going there to get pussy. Women are going there to get pussy too. But they're not really interested in somebody talking up on stage. Even if there's a band, when the band is in between songs and the guy's talking, people just phase that right out. Like, I don't want to hear.
Yeah, it becomes background noise.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't work. It's the talking and the music, not so much.
Right. So we're talking about a whole bunch of things here. I started this whole thing with the Rogan thing about his really bad take on homelessness. Dave, you got any thoughts? And I'm not sure if you heard what the whole thing was, but basically, I think it's no secret to anybody that we have a major homeless problem in America. The solution is not is something that nobody has really come up with a good solution on how to deal with people who, let's face it, anybody can and many people have, and Dean and I have both experienced homelessness for periods. I think anybody can have that happen to them. We need to have a solution, and the solution it is not necessarily, or at least in my view, is not shooting them all. You got any ideas on this whole?
Oh, well, yeah, there was a tornado back in '90. I was 9 years old, and we lost our house. I mean, I was 9 years old, and I didn't know anything about homeowners insurance or anything, but it destroyed our house. And I thought we were going to be living on the streets. I mean, I couldn't wrap my head around it. And wound up working out, but it took about 9 months to get the house built. We had to stay with neighbors and family, and then we will rent a church, or not rent a church, but rent a house until the house got built. But then, just back in 2019, I wound up homeless again. The crazy thing is, I still own the home, but I had a neighbor that just was using the county against me. He was connected in the county, and he wanted my property, so he was calling zoning on me, and he called the health department on me, and he wound up getting me kicked out of my house because I did some excavation to build a garage, and I hit my leach field for my septic system, and he got me. He got the health department out there, and it was ridiculous because all I needed to do is repair the leach field.
Right.
But he drug it on for 2 years, made it as expensive as possible. It was a 9-year-old septic system. The thing worked perfectly. It was just the leach field. I tore up the leach field. But I had to deal with him for 2 years before it was actually when I got in trouble with the FBI is when they come down and are like, look, this guy's kind of crazy. And he's a veteran. They told the health department, stop messing with him. Stop messing with him and sign off on a plan, because they would sign off on a plan and then they would take it back and say it was no good. And then ultimately they forced me out of my house. They said, you either move out or the sheriff's going to come up there and forcibly remove you. So at the time I had 3 other veterans living with me. And I told them all a couple months in advance. I was like, look, you guys got to I begged with the health department. I'm like, look, you're going to create 4 homeless veterans. And they're like, oh, just go to the VA.
This is a good point. Now, a lot of these homeless people that Joe Rogan wants to shoot, and I know it was a joke. On some level, obviously, it's a joke. It's a joke in really bad taste, in my opinion. But a lot of these homeless people are vets. You see, so these guys who are claiming to be pro-vet, making jokes about we should shoot these guys. These are guys who served the country, and they just want to go out and shoot them because they have had some tragedy in their life. Again, I don't want to keep beating up on Rogan, but I think this is out of the very low rock. I'm hoping it's rock bottom for the kind of things that he said. But to me, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the only one outraged by that. But I just feel like
I'm formerly homeless too. Like I had, like in 2019, I was like in a homeless shelter, sleeping on couches, and actually I'm on disability. SSDI, and I don't get enough money to live normally. I only get $1,100 a month.
And in New York City, that's nothing.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah.
But I'm in a transitional for formerly homeless people. I'm in a program. That's the only way I can be in the United States. That's why I lived in 34. I've been to 34 different countries. But that's why I lived abroad, because it was too expensive.
Wow. But when Dave was given that answer, did anything just make your ears say, I want to ask him a question about that?
Where did you go when your house was like you were forced out of your house?
You can answer that question, but I was hoping he was going to say when I got in trouble with the FBI was the thing that got my ears. But go ahead, answer his question.
Oh yeah, I mean you can talk about that. Yeah.
They kicked me out in the wintertime, and fortunately my parents lived close enough, so I just moved in with them. And I finally did get it sorted out after I was accused of being a domestic terrorist for an internet joke.
Why were you accused of being a domestic terrorist?
What's that?
Why were you accused of being a domestic terrorist?
A joke on social media. I joked about. I talked about this on Matt's a previous show, Matt's. Back in '99, I was a senior in high school and Columbine happened, and they had picked on me, and then they were scared. They reported me to the principal and said I was going to shoot up the school or had a hit list or something. I was like, no, I got plans to move to Chicago. Fast forward 20 years, I found out the day before my 20-year reunion that I wasn't invited, and I cracked a joke on Facebook that, oh man, maybe they thought they were preventing another mass shooting. And unfortunately, there was 2 mass shootings that day or the day before. And somebody reported me to the FBI as the reason they really stuck was I used to let veterans, I have 7 acres. I'd let them come out from the city and shoot on my property. And my neighbor, in his efforts to just cause trouble with me, called the police and said that he was scared, even though we were out in the country. I mean, I can't even get pizza delivery. and he shoots his gun all the time. But then he called the cops, and he was like, "Oh, my wife's scared, and they're shooting guns." And it was like, no, it was like half a dozen trained veterans that were trained on weapons use, and we were shooting into a berm. Not even anyway, it was totally safe. But the cops were like, "Oh, well, the neighbors are scared." I'm like, seriously, people hunt on their properties out here. We're just having a bonfire and listening to music and shooting guns. But
Wow.
yeah, the cops
Again,
ended it.
again, it comes down to people. Oh, we lost Dean. He'll be back. I think he probably just lost connection there. But it comes down to people starting shit with vets. Now, I'm a volunteer at the VA, and I love my vets. I think, coming from the Vietnam era when vets were really treated like shit, it's a sore subject to me to see anytime I see people either letting vets fall through the cracks or even doing anything to prevent them from getting a hand up and getting back reintroduced back into society. So when I see people calling cops on you, I understand they're probably a little nervous with the guns and stuff, but so I can understand that. But calling the cops on, there's got to be a way to resolve that. Go talk to people, have a conversation, all that kind of stuff. Dean's back. So the question I have for you though is, you posted this joke about the Columbine thing. I think maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm judging you wrong, but I think you know that's going to get you in trouble, and you enjoy the being the bad boy of Facebook and social media. Yes or no?
I just like making people laugh, and my humor's dark. It's dark, but you know what? I mean, I'm not a dad, so I don't really care for dad jokes. You know what I mean?
Right. No, I hear you.
Sexual stuff.
But when you posted the Columbine joke, you had to be expecting there would be some kind of backlash. No.
Oh, I just said I didn't say anything about me wanting to do any violence. I just said, "Oh, maybe they thought again. They thought that they were preventing." And it was like, anybody knows me, I'm a pacifist. I hate guns. I hate violence. I mean, yeah, I've spent 3 deployments to the Iraq War, and it was like I'm the biggest hippie now. I mean, look at me. And, it's like I abhor violence. Like if somebody tries to pick a fight with me, that's how I got into comedy. Was people would want to fight me, and I just would try to diffuse a situation with humor.
Yeah, no, I get it. I got kicked off for Twitter for 7 days when the Supreme Court overturned the New York State law, the gun control law about carry permits. And my comment was simply, "Yay! I can't wait to get shot." And they said that was harassment. Now I said, "I can't wait to get shot." I didn't say I can't wait to shoot somebody else. And I got put in jail. So I know the rules can be but telling jokes can get you in trouble. But the question really, you had to. Do you enjoy being the bad guy and getting thrown in? Because it seems it happens a lot. Too often for you not to be enjoying it. It's on some level.
Well, you know what? The society's gotten such thin-skinned. I mean, people need to toughen up. I mean, crap, all the bad stuff that's going on. It's not like we're saying that we're going to do anything. We're just joking about just the current state of things. Just like that was a hilarious joke. You said it. Yeah, I can't wait to get shot. You know what I mean? Because that's why I hate guns, but I just don't buy them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want kids.
I hate guns, but I understand kind of there are I know left-wing people who want to have guns just in case.
I know lots of left-wing people who have guns. Lots. Yeah. I don't think you have to be right-wing to be a gun enthusiast. Somebody who is who is. And most people I know who have guns are very responsible.
That's why I know I can never have a gun. Because I I drink too much and I get suicidal.
No, I don't want you having a gun either, Dean. I'd be worried about that. I would drive to the Bronx and have a talk with you and say, you know what, maybe let's put the gun in a safe. How about that?
What? You and your You want to hear something crazy, Matt? You know who sold me my first gun? I used to have guns, but I gave them away because I just didn't like them. You know what I mean? I don't enjoy shooting them. I don't like cleaning them. I mean, I got burned out in the Marine Corps. I spent a solid 2 years of my life carrying an M16 with me every day, and I hated the responsibility of it. And it was just like I was an aircraft mechanic. I knew I wasn't going to need to shoot anybody, especially not the planes or anything. But yeah, it was an FBI agent that sold me my first an AR after Sandy Hook. And the only reason I told him when I got red flagged, I gave my guns away, and I told him, I was like, the only reason I bought that thing after Sandy Hook is I was hoping they were banning them. I overpaid for it. I paid like $2,000 for the damn thing, and I was hoping they got banned, and I was hoping to sell it on the black market for like $10,000. I bought it strictly for profit purposes.
Yeah,
because that's what's crazy. It's people don't realize they're not going to be able to get all the guns in the gun nuts if they were to ban them. They're going to be like, screw it, they're already illegal. So I'm going to go ahead and make them fully automatic, and the problem is going to get worse because they're the legal gun over.
Somebody brought up the fact that what was that, Dean?
If you ban guns, people already have guns. So
yeah, there's like.
They're not going to give them up.
I don't think it's possible to de-gun America. There are too many out there, and I think anybody who thinks that you can do what they did in Australia, where you have the government come and knock on your door and ask for your guns, that ain't happening here. Yeah, it's not happening. Not ever. But we know that, right? You know that, and I know that. How come the people with the guns don't know that? Because they're really paranoid that that's going to happen. Gun lovers are paranoid that the government is going to come and knock on their door and say, give us your guns. You and I both know that would be a disaster. That would be mass murder we'd have more cops, more government people dying every door they knocked on. It just could not work here.
Go
ahead.
It's kind of like Roe versus Wade being overturned. Now it goes back to individual states. Some states are going to ban it, but there's going to be a ton of states that aren't going to ban it. So abortion, it still will be available. You just have to travel for it. And they're already talking about there's going to be charities that pop up to help people. They'll just
but I don't think any states could, even a state, even Rhode Island, the smallest state, I don't think they could possibly ban guns and go do what the old gun confiscation thing, knock on doors. I just don't think. That's crazy thinking that that's going to happen in the United States because we've become, it's in our DNA. Guns are in the DNA of the United States. I don't think they're ever going to get away with something like that. And I think they know that it would never fly. So
I became friends with those FBI agents that I had to deal with back in 2019, and I still talk to them. They want to work on their cars and stuff. And like one of them even. He was like, "Oh, you're a comedian? That was a joke." Like, law enforcement has no sense of humor. Like I kind of understand because they see that there's this scum of society and they deal with it every day, so they get kind of jaded. But I was asking those FBI agents, I'm like, "So if they ban guns, are you going to do the confiscation?" And they're like, "Nope. I'm telling my supervisor if he tells me to do it, he better go do it first." And I'm like, "Yeah, because there's going to be a lot of there's going to be a lot of shootouts, like freaking Ruby Ridge or whatever."
Yeah. Again, I don't think it could ever happen. Now, yesterday I saw one gun guy making the argument that, because he's thinking that a gun confiscation is possible, which it's not. But even if that happens, there are 3D printers right now that can make an automatic rifle pretty quickly. I mean, so an undetectable plastic or made out of materials that are not necessarily detectable by anything. So we're heading down that path eventually. The gun that killed Abe in Japan was a 3D printed gun. So once that rabbit hole is completely opened up,
I'm not sad about that guy though. He defended the massacres in Manchuria. His grandfather committed it, Abe.
Right.
Because the Japanese were really bad in Manchuria.
Right.
Really bad. In World War II, so bad.
Right. But the point I was making was the 3D printers. Once you can make guns at home and don't even have to buy them, and they can be undetectable. I mean, all these gun laws make no sense at that point anyway, because you can take somebody's gun away and they'll just go home and make a new one on their 3D printer.
It's very
Well, think
scary.
about. Go ahead.
No, it's just scary. It's like you got people who are really into guns and they want to shoot people. You have that now, and these people are still out there, and I don't know what to do about it. But there are people. There's going to be more shootings. That's for sure.
Yeah, this is a dark program today, but you two guys are pretty dark to begin with. Yeah, the darkest white guys I know. Yeah, and so it doesn't present an optimistic picture for.
Matt, think about it too. There's thousands of gunsmiths out there. They make their living machining and making guns. They have the tools to do it. If they ban guns, you think they're just going to go get a job at 7-Eleven? No, they're gonna be making guns.
Sesame. No, they're gonna get jobs at Sesame Place in those the Big Bird and Oscar the Grouch costumes. Yeah,
they'll just move their machinery into their basement and they'll be making guns and selling guns, unregistered guns. You know what I mean? They'll continue to do it, and they'll make more money if they're illegal. I mean, the government banned alcohol. Look what it did. Created the mafia. They did the war on drugs. Created the cartels. That's what
look at when they legalized marijuana, how many good things happen in the states where they do it. You know what I mean? It makes no sense.
Oh, speaking of marijuana, what are you vaping over there, Dean?
I am vaping marijuana.
You fucking subversive. No wonder you're on a list.
DEA is going to start hitting your DMs. That happened to me whenever I joke about drugs. I get these accounts that are like a day old, and it's all saying they'll mail me drugs online and through the mail. All this stuff.
Yeah, I've never done that because I don't trust the post office.
Wow. Oh no, that's what they do is they want you to transfer money, and then it's using the post office. It's abuse of the post office, and I think it's a federal crime. So they're trying to get
mail.
Yeah, I don't want to fuck with that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Wow.
But if I want to smoke, I got some good hillbilly stuff out here. It's almost as good as California stuff. I don't understand how these.
We get a lot of California stuff out here. It's just California.
He's in the Bronx.
That's right.
The Bronx is beautiful this time of year.
It actually is. I love the Bronx.
I know.
I'm trying to get out of here.
That's my favorite Robert Klein song of all time. But I realized in the last couple of weeks, because I'm always doing introspection, that I've been trying to write a song that along those lines for 40 years since I first heard that song. Bronx is beautiful. Are you familiar with it?
The Bronx, not the song though.
The Bronx is beautiful this time of year by Robert Klein, the comedian. Check it out. It's a fucking beautiful song. It's funny. But it's a greatly composed song. It's a really well written song. Something that I set as a standard for kind of music I want to write, and I didn't even think about that until I revisited it because I've been trying to get him on the program. So
we got the real Little Italy out here, Belmont, where you get the best flights anywhere.
Yeah,
Belmont in the Bronx. Yeah, the real Little Italy.
But you want to move to Harlem. Now, Harlem has changed, right? It's not all black anymore, first of all, right? It's kind of mixed. It's integrated, white and black, Hispanic and everything, right?
Mostly black people, but there's also hipsters or whatever.
Right. When I was a kid, if you wanted to score drugs or hookers, Harlem was the place to go. It's pretty much not...
Like the Velvet Underground sound. Hey, white boy, what are you doing uptown?
Yeah. Now, if I can do a little callback here, when I brought up Abbey, you seem to know a little bit about that situation. Now, I don't. But what I've been led to believe by headlines, because I didn't read the whole stories because I was lazy and don't really care about Japan's politics or any of that stuff, was that it was Mooney's or his affiliation with Mooney's that got him killed, or no?
Oh, yeah. They were upset about that. But Mooney's gone crazy. Now the Moonies are carrying guns and fronting, there's two branches of the Moonies because that guy died, right? The Mooney guy. What's his name? I forget his name. Reverend Moon. He died.
Reverend Sun Young Moon.
So they got two sons. You got a son and a daughter. They broke up into two factions. But the son's faction, they'd be carrying guns. and preventing terrorism. So the Moonies have gotten really like violent in the last year.
Wow. I did not know that. I had a Moonie, a former Moonie, a girl who was raised in the Moon cult in New York City, in Harlem. I had her on. She authored a book, To the Moon and Back, and we were talking about that. Her mother was full blown in the cult. Was one of the, when they had that Moon marrying 400 women or something, or 1,200
Oh,
women or something at Madison Square Garden. She was one of them.
she's one of them. Okay.
And her father was a drug dealer who was dealing drugs to judges in Harlem. Really crazy stories, but I never knew they were violent. I thought they were just like,
Oh, they changed. It's a recent development with the song. They
wow.
carry AK-47s, all that. It's fucking scary as fuck.
In Japan or in the United States?
United States.
Wow, I didn't even know they were still around. Fucking cultism, and we're seeing more and more cults, but they're kind of underground. Dave, in
Well, I mean,
Indiana,
it makes sense.
in
But
reality,
reality is kind of fucking screwy as it is. So it kind of makes sense that cults people find like refuge, a false sense of refuge and security, but it's manipulatives.
wow, yeah,
It makes sense that that's
right.
kind of happening.
Dave, Indiana, rural place. You see cult activity out there at all, or any? Because where we see in rural areas is where you seem to get the cults that pop up. No.
The worst that we had around here, well, I mean, back in the heyday, the Ku Klux Klan, Indiana had the highest number of people in it. And
I didn't know that. I always thought North Carolina. Wow.
No, it is Indiana. Indiana's backward ass state. Like I told you, I previously told you, in the county I'm in, if you pop on a P test at work, they turn it over to the cops and you get prosecuted for internal possession.
That what?
Internal possession. Because that's why I tell people.
Like,
it's the government, man. It's the government.
In your blood, right? That's
yeah. If it's if you have THC in your system, you can get prosecuted in my county for internal possession.
That's fucking bullshit, yo.
Right.
But yeah, the Klan, that's the only kind of weird stuff I've seen out here. But it was like last I dealt with them, it was in Madison.
I bet you there are some cults out there, though. There has to be in every rural area there, and not necessarily violent or dangerous cults. Just these religions.
There's definitely cults here, but I don't know where they are. But in New York City,
I need to thank Antifa though. I need to thank Antifa because back in I think it was Labor Day of 2018, I spent 2 months. There was going to be a Klan rally. I didn't know how many people were going to be at this park. So I spent 2 months messaging all these Antifa groups from all over Chicago, Louisville, Lexington, Cincinnati, Columbus, Indianapolis, and apparently it was an annual cookout. And I'm like, I don't want to have this. I don't want this to be in my state. I don't want to be in my country. I don't want to be that. Antifa come out in full force. It turned out there was only like a dozen of these white supremacists. And it wound up being like 400 or 500 Antifa and just as many cops. They had snipers on the bridge above. There was out in the water on boats. Yeah, I mean, the cops had to protect.
That's what they did in Portland too. At the Joey Gibson Patriot Prayer stuff, there would be like 50 of them, and we'd have like 400 of us. They'd always lose.
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, it was also, in a way, I talked to one of the Antifa guys. He had traveled from Montana. He was like, he gets paid to go protest. And he happened to be in Louisville and heard about it and came up. And he was really heartbroken because Antifa was wanting to fight and they were just yelling at each other and all that. And he's like, we could have made a difference if we just tried to talk some sense into these white supremacists instead.
No, you can't do that. You can't do that. Because they don't want to.
A friend of mine knows them because he's fought them all because he's from that area. And he's like, they're just a bunch of losers on government assistance that live in trailers. And they blame blacks and Jews for all their problems. And that's why they're white supremacists, because it's a cop-out from their own loser existence.
Well, that goes to a point that I was making now, because you don't have to be a white supremacist to be a hater. I think thinking that, the idea that people think they're superior because they're white, that's not always the case. There are people who are just full of hate and and maybe it's because they recognize that they're not superior in a lot of ways, but I don't know. We throw that word around like white supremacists, like we think the white race,
Oh no, I'm actually good friends with a black supremacist.
yeah.
He refuses to acknowledge that I'm white. He calls me his blue-eyed soul brother.
Wow.
Well, that's a compliment. Yeah.
um No, and there's a YouTube video, Lex Friedman, I gotta watch. He had somebody on, and they're talking about the racial makeup influence on intelligence. Like, are some race, people want to say that Asians are the most intelligent race. Actually, Ashkenazi Jews are supposed to be the most intelligent people, and then Asians in their theory, and then Caucasians, and then Africans, and it's like I don't believe in that at all. I think what?
It's bullshit. It's bullshit.
Yeah, I think we can measure things. We can set up measurements that will produce the result that we want when it comes to intelligence. We can come up with a scale that favors whatever your cultural upbringing was, and measure that as intelligence, and then come up with, oh, see, this proves that you're more intelligent than this race or whatever. I just think it's all bullshit too. I don't, but that's where I think a lot of the supremacist ideas come from. Is look, and I don't know if you guys are probably not old enough to remember Jimmy the Greek, who was a sportscaster on CBS, talking about blacks being bred for superior athletic skills. Got him in a whole lot of trouble, and because he was talking about athletes and why we were seeing so many superstars that happened to be black in the NFL and the NBA at the time, and he was comparing it to breeding of slaves, and talking about how the masters would take the biggest, strongest black man and put him with the strongest black woman, and breed like you would an animal, for superior strength and those kind of qualities, and he got in a lot of trouble for that. So, but
Oh, I
that's what.
remember hearing about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where the idea of supremacism comes from. It's intelligence or physical skills and things like that. But I think it's all bullshit.
It's like simple racism, unthought racism, where you're not thinking about white supremacy, just hate. It's just like simple, primitive racism. Primitive hate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just seeing people that are different than you, and trying to minimize them in some way. Most of it comes from fear, right? From fear. Like, I'm afraid of what's different than me. I see people who look different from me. I'm afraid. My natural reaction is to be a little bit nervous, a little bit scared of it, and then invent things and reasons why I shouldn't be. I don't know. Maybe I'm off.
Well, have either of you been to Japan?
I have been there, but only for work, and basically didn't see much of it. I mean, 3 days at a time for work assignments and things like that. Dean, have you been to Japan?
I haven't been to Japan. I've been to Southeast
34
Asia.
countries and not Japan?
Oh man, you're missing out, Dean. I love Japan, but I'll tell you why. They were really ethnocentric as far as.
Oh yeah, they're like really racist. I know
Exactly, but they're polite about it. They're polite. Like, you'll go to I remember one time we were trying to get into a strip club. It was me and a bunch of Marines. We were over there trying to get into a strip club, and they were like, "No gaijing, no gaijing, no gaijing," and they're like, apologize, and they're like, "Sorry, we don't let foreigners." It means no foreigners, and it's like, what it was is because the Japanese businessmen. They're old. They have a lot of money. They know us Marines don't, and we look better. And they had, unfortunately, it was a bunch of Eastern European girls that were probably sex trafficked. And if the cute American Marines come in there, they don't want anything to do with the Japanese businessmen. So they would exclude us from those places.
I bet you that some Americans weren't well behaved. I bet you.
No. Especially the Marines. Marines get in trouble over there. I had a former staff sergeant, caused an international incident because he got into a fight with a Japanese guy and threw him over a seawall.
Oh my God.
This is
He didn't
interesting to
kill
me.
him. He didn't kill him.
I had known about Japanese racism, but I've never really had a conversation about
And
it. This is
Korea,
interesting to me. Are they
no,
more?
very racist against the Chinese. Very racist against Chinese.
That's pretty weird. That's pretty weird because, and I guess I'm gonna get myself in trouble here, but to a Caucasian guy, if I see two Asian people, I can't tell if he's Japanese or Chinese or Korean or Vietnamese or any.
They have a lot of like Korean and Chinese racism in Japan. I know that.
But can they tell by visuals? Because my point I'm making is, I hate to say, because Asians, not they all look alike. Not all Asian people look alike. But I can't tell the difference between a Chinese person and a Japanese or Korean person just by looking. Can they?
It's probably the last names. The last names tell a lot. The Southeast Asians, they're easier to differentiate. The Laotians and the
So it's not a visual thing. You have to talk to somebody, get their name, because like all white guys, I can't tell the difference between an Italian guy and a Greek guy.
But if you see like it's with the Caucasians, I mean, other races like all white people look the same. If we could look at somebody and like blonde hair, blue eyes, fair skin, they're probably from like.
It's
What do you
true
call
though.
that? Yeah.
Dean, do they hate Chinese people more than black people or white people?
I don't know. I just know a bit about the history. I've never been there.
Yeah,
No,
well,
actually, in Japan, they like black men because they're considered kind of like an oddity. There's not many of them over there, and the women all like, especially with the rap culture and stuff. They're like, I'm going to try that out.
And the hate for China isn't racial because they're the same race. It's because China.
No, it is racial.
It is.
It is, yeah. It's a racial.
They're both Asian.
Yeah, but that's not how they see it. The racists in Japan.
I thought it was just because China invaded them and completely dominated them in the 1800s and into the early 1900s. No.
Maybe that.
No, it's a crazy dynamic, and I noticed like you got the Japanese and the Koreans. They both think they're the superior Asian race. Seriously, they look down on the others. The Japanese look down on Chinese, and the Chinese kind of look up. Some of them, a lot of them that I've met, look up to the Japanese, kind of with some respect. You know what I mean? And as far as just how Japan is such a powerhouse in technology, and it went from being nuked twice to being damn near, if they had a military, they'd be a superpower again. Wow. But then the further south you go, and that's why I like the Vietnamese people, because they don't care. They're just happy that they're alive. You know what I mean? And then the Laotians and Cambodia,
Thailand, Indonesia, and Malaysia.
And the Filipinos. I love the Filipinos because all the other Asian races look down on them, but they just don't give a crap. You know what I mean? They're just happy. The ones I met, the one I served with in the Marine Corps, he immigrated over here, and I remember him telling us a story one time. He was in boot camp, and the drill instructors would ask you, "Well, why did you join the military?" And he's like, "For food." He was just happy. Yeah, he used to. I remember we had a Vietnamese guy, a Thai guy, and a Filipino guy, and they sat around, and they were all immigrants, and they got their citizenship by joining the Marine Corps, and they were talking about the dishes that they used to have in their home countries, and like 100-day-old eggs or 1,000-year-old eggs or whatever, where they bury eggs, let them rot, balut. And then I remember Glenn Vonnie telling us about how his dad used to make goat shit stew. His dad used to go around the yard, collect the goat shit, put it in a pot, boil it, and eat goat shit. They would make goat shit. That's why
Thank you, Dean.
He joined the Marine Corps so he wouldn't have to eat goat shit stew, man.
Goat shit stew. That's gonna be the title of my
Are you
next
sure he
album.
wasn't
Goat
having
shit
fun
stew.
with you? Are you sure he wasn't making that up?
No, he would. If you saw this guy eat, you'd swear he was starving. I
I'm
mean, he,
googling it now. You guys keep the conversation going. I'm googling goat shit stew. Goat shit stew.
No, but when I was in Indonesia, you had people from West Papa, and
Yeah,
they were
here it
like,
is. Here it is. Goat poop soup, Filipino food, Filipino recipes. Yeah, it's a real thing.
you think I would lie to you, man?
No,
well, this sounds too much.
there's a
Because if
recipe for it on Amazon. Holy
we can make
fuck!
it too.
A book of recipes for goat shit stew.
There's a whole book
Yeah, and
all
goat.
about shit recipes.
Oh my god. We live in a sick world. I knew with you two guys this conversation would be a little dark, but it's pretty fucking pretty
You
gruesome.
started it out with the gun talk. That was you.
From homelessness to goat shit stew.
Oh my
Yeah, it
god.
was all you, Matt. You started the conversation.
So, you guys
I feel honored. I
yeah.
feel honored. I was able to educate you today, Matt.
Oh, you always do. You always do. You always bring a whole lot of different insights and new information to the table. And I love having you on. I think you're a good guy, and I think Facebook has you all wrong. I'm gonna say that. But so you guys are around the same age. I think you're probably both around 40ish, right? No.
I'm 41.
And how old are you, Dean?
43.
So you're around the same age. So
Yeah.
Yeah, you would have bullied me in high school.
Right. So me being old, I think I can afford to be a pessimist and say the world is going to hell because I'm not going to be around that much longer. But you guys still have, if as long as you don't get hit by a bus and avoiding tragedy and all that kind of stuff, you have a lot of years left in your life. Are you optimistic? Are you pessimistic? Or are you? I mean, how do you look at the world we live in and think, I have a future in this world?
Oh, I don't. I'm a pessimist. I'm totally a pessimist. You know, I didn't even own guns, and I got red flagged. I'm like, that's how screwed up this country is. You know, it's like, what the hell? So I mean, that's one of the things you asked me to come on the show after I told you about the whole Wall Street Journal interview I did last week.
We'll talk about that in a minute. But let me, Dean, you're a philosopher, and are you an optimist?
I'm cautiously optimistic. I don't feel optimistic about anything that's going on with the politics or anything like that. I think it's all going to get worse. But I think that people have ways of organizing in small ways and like kind of organic ways, people to people in community. And I think that will continue to happen. I believe that people will get together and do things in a positive light, despite all the bad things.
Huh. That's an interesting, because I know you're prone to depression and these kind of things. So it's interesting to say that you're cautiously optimistic and look at it. The planet, though, for humanity.
I'm a romantic. I'm like a broken-hearted romantic. I'm a believer, but my heart is broken sometimes.
But as an artist and a creator, don't you have to tap into some kind of? Maybe not. Maybe you can just be a really dark creator.
No, it's not dark. What I do is not dark. I mostly spin reggae. That's bringing positive, like meditative vibes. It's not dark. I know. I try to avoid that. I know it, but I don't want it.
Right. Interesting stuff. Dave, you mentioned the Wall Street Journal article. Tell people about what exactly happened to you and how long ago was this? This was recent, right?
Yeah, it was last Wednesday, I believe.
And they contacted you?
Well, a friend of mine, he posted, he's a comedian down south, I think in Georgia or something like that. He posted that he got doxxed. And I just I reached out to him, and I guess apparently on Twitter he posted that, and a journalist from the Wall Street Journal wanted to interview him about being doxxed. But I reached out to him, And I was like, so how bad did you get doxxed? Because I've been doxxed before. And I'm like, did your family get contact? Did they go after your family too? Was it a full doxing, or was it just his? Because he said his phone number got out and a whole bunch of people just started harassing him, phone calls and texts and stuff like that. I'm like, man, back in 2019, this is what it culminated up into that red flagging by the FBI and dealing with them. Is I used to be part of this trolling group called Marines United, and they're infamous. Go ahead and look it up, Marines United, and look at the scandal back in 2017. I mean, it went all the way up to Congress, and they're going to pass legislation. A whole bunch of guys in the Marine Corps got kicked out for being in that group and the stuff that they did. They got in trouble for revenge porn and stuff. I was off the internet for years during my divorce, and I finally jump on and I get thrown into this group after the scandal. And I was sold to me as a veteran suicide prevention support network. And I'm like, I could get down with that because, like, I get depressed at times, and I've been through a lot of shit, and I could talk to guys, and I did. It was all tied with this other group too, where we are 24/7. We ran this thing where if anybody was feeling suicidal or just depressed, needed somebody to talk to, you could call. There was a list of us that volunteered to be available all the time. I mean, I remember one time I was staying up till 3 a.m. talking this guy down from killing both of his kids in himself. Talked him down. And that's what I got before I got into comedy, but I used humor. I'm like, all right, I'm not going to tell you not to kill yourself, but could I tell you a funny story before you do it? Because nobody kills themselves laughing unless you're like the Joker. You know what I mean?
I don't know. That's probably true.
Oh,
yeah. Probably true.
I talked to them. We're like, oh, you think your life's bad? Have you ever tried smuggling drugs in your butt? You ever been robbed by a hooker while you're on cocaine?
I have. No.
But yeah, so I was in that group, and then we would do light trolling, and it was just like it was I would say a noble thing at first. It was just harmless stuff. We would just get people upset about stuff that wasn't going to happen, or we'd go after politicians that said bad things. You know what I mean? We would just do this massive troll campaign to try to get them to resign. And we did. I think there was several. I think we got a mayor in California who was forced to resign because we just bombarded the media with stuff about him. And then it was also too, there would be guys like, oh, this guy is messing around with my wife, and like, we're going to go after him. And we would just blow him up, find out all his information, and get him messing around with the veteran's wife, get the dude fired. You know what I mean? Make his life hell for messing around with another man's woman, especially a Marine veteran Marine or Marine veteran. But then they started turning. It wasn't enough for this group, and they started turning on each other, and they started turning on female veterans and whatnot. And it was like these girls, these women weren't doing anything wrong, and they were turning on other Marines in the group. And I'm like, whoa, wait, this isn't what I joined for. We shouldn't be attacking ourselves and cannibalizing. And I kind of knew, I'm like, I need to bow out of this group. They liked me because I was crazy, and at the time I was divorced and just going ape shit. I made really good money, was traveling all over, and I was like, it's only a matter of time before I piss one of these guys off, and they're going to come after me. So I'm like, hey, look, guys, it's just, this isn't right for me, and I'm going to go ahead and leave. And they actually, one dude did. This dude, he just had a hard on for me, and he caused a rift between me and a really good friend over some bullshit. And then I quit the group, and I wanted nothing to do with it. And then it wound up being about 5 months later, he creates a fake Facebook account of mine. And this is the only problem about having multiple accounts that are slightly different.
You can get cloned pretty easy.
Yeah. There was no less than 3 fake Facebook accounts made of me to cause havoc in my life. People didn't know if it was me or not. They wouldn't ask. They were like, oh, it's Sidwell. He's got another account. Because I've had 31 in 5 years. And Yeah, because I refuse to allow Facebook to silence me. You know what I mean? I just want to be a pain in their ass.
It's not that easy on Twitter. Once you get banned on Twitter, it's really hard to make a new account and all. But it didn't used to be, but it is now. Which is why I'm Kelp Nate.
But this guy, this one jerk, he actually works for law enforcement. He brags that he's an analyst for the FBI too, and he had created a fake Facebook account and started sending revenge porn out in my name to a buddy of mine's, a friend of mine's ex-girlfriend's nudes to his current wife, and he had everybody believing it was me. People were hitting me up like, "This doesn't sound like something you would do," and I'm like, "No, it's not. I wouldn't. Never would I do that." And they're like, "Well, they're coming after you." So it was a 3-month reign of terror on my life. I mean, I pretty much couldn't touch my phone because I was just my phone was getting blown up with anonymous texts. My family started, all the women in my family, my sister was getting rape threats. They were going after my mom, blowing up her phone at 3 a.m. in the morning. And then finally, it wasn't until one of them slipped up and got investigated by the FBI that they came to me after I got red flagged. They're like, "How'd you get out of trouble with the FBI? Because we know you got red flagged and swatted and all that." And I'm like, "If you didn't do anything wrong, you have nothing to worry about." I'm like, I became friends with you.
That's a bullshit.
Well, if you're a white guy, if you didn't do anything wrong, you got nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
So that was it. I told them about that, and it was just, I've been on a mission since 2019 to destroy this group. Even though they brought me back, I'm in a beef with them currently over this shit.
But with the Wall Street Journal article, what was their slant on this? What was the point of the article?
Doxing and internet harassment stuff.
Now, for some people there are people, believe it or not, who don't know what doxing is. Explain what doxing is. I know what it is, but explain what it is to people who don't know the term.
What doxing is if you could find out so much free information about anybody. You just type in like, go to a website like True People Search, and you could type in a name, and if you know where they live and roughly their age, it'll give you all the results, and you click on that, and it'll tell you where they live, their phone number, everywhere they've lived, their phone numbers, all the people that they call regularly that might be related to them, and then you could click on those, and you could go after those people, and it's just a domino effect, and it all comes from the social media and all the terms and agreements that when you click on
what were they doxing you on?
What do you mean? They were just.
They were putting out all his information, his address, his phone number,
there was
family members.
But what were they saying about you?
What were they saying about me?
Were they saying you're a terrorist or whatever?
Well, the one guy that was part of that doxing was the guy. He had a fake Facebook account, a burner, what you call him, and I didn't know he was still following me. And he saw that, and he was like, "Oh, I'm going to report him to the FBI as a domestic terrorist." And he just took a screenshot and sent it, because then he just took a partial thing. You know, you could say something, and then just if you don't give the whole sentence, you know what I mean? Then it looks bad. You know what he had it framed up to where it looked like I was threatening to shoot up my high school.
Shit.
So there's nothing anybody in freedom of in a free society. There's nothing anybody can do to stop that. I mean, if there's information out there about you that's in a database, and somebody wants to access that and put it online, there's really nothing we can do to stop that. I mean, for me, I don't think I have to worry about that, because my life is pretty much a fucking open book. My phone number is right on my Twitter account. I mean, all my information is everywhere on my websites, my home address, all that stuff. People already know, so what could they actually do?
I mean, you can dox me on public. I'm public. People know who I am.
Well, that's the thing, though, is this group that came after it, Marines United, they had a separate group that you had to get vetted to get into, and it had about 2,000 people, 2,000 Marines in it, and it was strictly for doxing people, going after people. You just throw somebody's name up there, where they lived, as much information as you could.
Was there a political agenda like anti-Antifa or what?
No, it's just a bunch of pissed off veterans that like their life isn't
Okay.
going good. They're bored, pissed off
I
veterans.
get a lot of those, and I was mentioned. That's how I started the week this week, is because there, especially when you're doing a podcast or something like this that is live, and you get chat rooms, and you got multiple chat rooms and emails, and all these kind of places where people can leave comments. There is a huge segment of our society right now that feels lost, unheard, invisible, and instead of trying to find something positive in their life, all they do is look to create negativity in other people's lives. I don't know if you call that trolling or whatever, but it's just causing shit. And I had to ban a guy yesterday because he just kept coming into the chat room looking like he wanted to start trouble with either me or the guests or all that kind of stuff. It's just,
Oh, I saw that. I saw that. Yeah.
yeah.
That was in.
I don't think that people were saying that was Evan from Scotland. I don't think it was him. I don't think.
No, it was weird. He wanted you to play a C7 chord, but the fuck.
C major 7, yeah.
Yeah.
But his
I could do that too.
Villain 02 was the guy's handle. So I don't think that was Evan, no. But a lot of people have come back.
I saw that.
But tons of people like that. I think it's a societal thing where people just feel lonely, they feel unheard, they feel invisible, like homeless people in a way, and need to have a voice. And the only way they act out on it.
I get that. I've been that, but that's not the right move. The move is to make positive things.
Yeah, you're not going to lift yourself up into the real world and be accepted by people by
that's
making it work for you.
That's not the way to go.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, it's just interesting. So, has the Wall Street Journal article been published yet?
I have no clue. I texted her, and Maddie Ellis is her name. She was the investigative journalist or whatever. So I don't know if it popped up. I think there might be a paywall, and I'm not paying to read it.
Yeah, no, I fucking hate that shit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, just show me some articles or some advertisements and let me see the article.
So is it payroll for the whole thing? You can't read the article?
I have no clue. I didn't even attempt. I mean, I remember somebody talking about something else, and they're saying, oh, yeah, Wall Street Journal has a paywall. There are some of those, you get like 5 articles a month you could read, and then they're like, all right, you got to subscribe.
The thing with all those, I don't mind paying for a subscription, but if you're going to be real about stuff in the world, if just for a single article, to pay for a subscription because one article is something that you're interested in, and I'm never going to read the Wall Street Journal again. I just want to read the one article that Dave's mentioned, and and if I did that for every fucking thing that I got interested in, I'd be fucking broke, because you can't do that. Anytime you're interested in an article, you got to pay, even if it's just $1 an article. There are probably 200 articles a day that I'm interested in. That's a $200 a day information habit. Who the fuck can afford that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Team, were you still? I saw some smoke coming out. Were you still vaping, or you were smoking actuals?
No, I made a rollie, top tobacco. I made a rollie cigarette.
And you can do that indoors there, and without any repercussions. I thought in New York City you were. And I don't want to get you in any trouble, but I thought they were like strict laws.
Not allowed, but they don't care. Okay.
Dean, open up! It's us, the fire police. So I'll see you later on today, Dean, at the FBI when they pull both of us in for questioning about our association with dangerous.
Well, I mean, I was involved in political stuff, Antifa stuff in Portland, so it's possible that I may be on the list. But I don't want to.
I'm sure you were on the list before, but now that you've talked to Dave,
oh yeah, now for sure.
No, forget about it. Our life is over. Our life has been ruined.
Well, that's the way. Oh, go ahead.
You can't take anything away from me.
I was told by an FBI agent, they're like, don't even get pulled over for a speeding ticket because you're flagged as a domestic terrorist, and the cops are going to approach the car with guns out. I'm like, great. This is great. I don't even own any guns, and I'm going to have this now? I'm like, I lost my white card.
Right.
You
Now,
know,
any
I
concern? You said you were still friends with some of these FBI guys. Any concern that they're just keeping you close to keep an eye on you, or you know, like they're just acting like friends?
Tell you what, man, I don't know how to take them. I mean, they have no chill, but I understand that they see a lot of bad stuff, you know? And
Yeah.
that's one of the things. I was like, I don't know. It's they see so much bad stuff and they forget that not everybody is a bad person. And that's what we're having issues with like cops. It's like they go to pull somebody over. Yeah, it's a dangerous thing to pull somebody over. But when you pull somebody over and they're complying and they're being respectful and stuff like that, don't
Right.
treat them like they're a criminal. Don't come up there like you're Billy Badass and start being aggressive because then you're just going to you're going to, I
well,
don't
there's
know.
about
What's up?
cops are trained to be like that. It's in their training. That's how they're trained to act. You know, it's
Well,
not just one bad cop. It's the way they're trained. They're
no,
trained
I
to
agree. I agree with what you just said there, Dean. But you know, the last couple of years we had, and I'm going to say something that a lot of people are going to think, well, that's stupid, it's ridiculous, or people I'm gonna get some negativity back my way for saying what I'm gonna say. In the last couple of years, we've seen this idea about defunding the police. I think we need to go the complete opposite way.
I
I think.
totally disagree with you 100%.
Well, here's what my contention is. We need part of police overaction or overreaction is insecurity. They're afraid that because if you take that job, even first of all, if you take that job, you should be vetted for being a really educated, competent person in every aspect of your life. If you're going to be protecting the public, you should be a fucking superhero. And there aren't
I
that many of
taught
those people around.
I taught philosophy to people who are training to be cops at John Jay College for 1 year,
Okay.
and like they're not all superstars. I mean,
I
some of
know
them.
that. I know that, but they should be. And this is why I'm saying we should pay them more, but only find elite people who are fucking secure within themselves that they can get into a situation like that and not feel like the need to grab a gun pretty quick because they're educated, really secure, confident in all their
No,
skills.
but when you get a domestic abuse case, bringing in a cop may not be the best thing.
No,
Maybe you need to get someone who has training and dealing with that sort of thing. When a
right.
cop comes,
I
Make
think
it like
go ahead.
make it like the military where they only get a 4-year contract. You know what I mean? And after like their conduct is reviewed after 4 years, I'm like, whoa, we've had a lot of complaints here. You beat your wife. You got a DUI. Yeah, we're not letting you be a cop anymore. We're kicking you out. Instead of it just like you become a cop, and as long as you don't, I don't know, get caught. Well, I mean, they
Right,
get caught with
you're
a
in
lot
your
of stuff, but
20-year
it's still
pension, and you got the blue wall the blue line that's going to protect you and all that stuff. My take on it is really is simply that they need to get rid of you know, and it's impossible to do. I understand this, but clean house completely and say we're starting from scratch. We want only the best people to be cops. And I know that we don't have a lot of people that would be qualified for it, but that's why it should be pay a premium rate for premium people who don't fucking kill people just because they're scared and overreact and can be confident in any like a jujitsu master who just knows that nobody. I am a fucking wall, and I can talk to people with respect because I know nobody can do me any harm. I'm not afraid of anybody, rather than everybody is look like this is a person who can kill me. This is how cops approach their job. If I do a traffic stop, I have to worry about my life. You want a guy who says, I'm not worried about my life. I'm the biggest, baddest motherfucker in the world. I can treat this person with respect and not be afraid of them. I think that those are the people we want. Well, super educated, super physically trained, great people, and pay them elite money. I think, because what we get is civil servants we get them when they come uneducated a lot of times, or not educated in philosophy and all these kinds of humanitarian arts that understand people, and they're not people first. We lost Dean again. He'll be back. Wi-Fi issues over there in the Bronx. Anyway, that's my take on it. I think not just like the military, but special forces with really high degrees of education before they even become those super troops, if you
Oh
will.
well, I don't know how much you know about the military, but they have ASVAB scores, and they're actually for special forces. You have to have it's rated in percentiles. You have to have a high ASVAB score to even qualify for special forces. But that's not even an MOS. You got to pick an MOS job, and then you have to try out for special forces, because if you don't
Right.
make it, then they drop you back.
Right.
But
I
yeah,
remember
you have to
taking
be
that test back in, yeah.
you have to have a super high ASVAB score to be special forces.
Yeah.
And that was one of the great things. Every sheriff's deputy and the sheriff knows me in my county after all the bullshit with my neighbors. I mean, at the peak of my feud with my neighbor, the cop showed up 6 times in 1 week over just bullshit stuff. And it was just me doing psychological warfare on my neighbor. But they all know me, and most of them were veterans. And they were all really chill. They're like, all right. They didn't come in aggressive or nothing like that. And then they found out I was a veteran, and they were like, all right, cool. So that's why when I got red flag, it wasn't as bad as it could have been, because that red flag stuff really scares me. Because you remember when those video gamers were doing the swatting on each other, and then the guy got killed in like Arkansas or something?
I don't know that story.
Oh, you didn't hear about that? It was like years ago. These online video gamers would be playing against each other. And what they would do is they'd find out where this person they were playing against lived, and then they would send to say that like there was somebody being held hostage there, and then the cops would the dude would be online playing. I mean, they thought it was really cool until a guy got killed over it. But the cops would dude be playing video games and talking smack, and all of a sudden his front door gets kicked in and cops are running around with guns. And he's like, what's going on? He didn't know what the hell was going on. So, I mean, when I got red flagged and kind of swatted, it's not like they kicked the door in. They just they were showing up in the middle of the night, and they said they were doing that to try to catch me off guard. But I wasn't even home. I wasn't even in this state. I was out of state.
Wow.
Yeah, but they terrorized my mom. My mom and dad were scared because they didn't know what the hell was.
Well, yeah, that's out of hand. Now I want to go back to Dean, because Dean, as I mentioned, is a philosopher. He taught philosophy in at several places. So, Dean, what would you propose as a solution for the policing problem as it is in America today? What is your take on this?
Okay. Well, I think you should abolish the police.
All of them? And have a society without any police? I just want to be clear on that. No police protection whatsoever for anybody ever?
No, I mean, I think there would have to be different people who would come in to fill the role. But it would be more a protective and less hostile situation. So there would have to be something else invented. But they would have to be trained differently. And you know what I mean?
But it just seems like you're replacing the police with new police.
No, I mean, they would be trained differently. It would be it would be a rotating job. You wouldn't have it all your life.
That was Dave's point, and I think I kind of agree with that. But I do think they should. I think we're asking a lot in the current police situation. I think we're asking a lot of
the interactions I've had with police have been very hostile. They're not nice people. They're not making the situation better. At least half the time, they're making it worse. You know what I mean?
I would agree that on the job, in most instances, what you just said is accurate. But I do know a lot of I know a lot of police who are not necessarily bad guys until they get on the job and get in that position where they feel their life is in danger. And again, I think almost every act of overstep of authority is bred in insecurity. I'm afraid for my own life, so I got to be really hyper. And some of it is racist.
They're trained that way. They're trained to react that way. It's in their training.
Yeah. I want to bring in this comment from Buddy. He belongs in the same room with you guys. Everyone that is given the godlike power of possession of a firearm should have to take an MMPI test. I don't know what that is, or is that L? MMPL test, and pass it according to the criteria of that status. Too many emotionally unstable people own guns, including police. I don't think I disagree with Buddy. I hate to fucking agree with him because that means I'm ready for a fucking rubber room every time I feel like I agree with him. But I don't think I disagree
Well, I
with
know
him.
I'm not a man who should own a gun, so I don't know.
I wound up in a mental hospital in Iraq being accused of a homicidal maniac, and I never even shot the gun. Jokes. But the thing is, though, is I had to go through 2 psych evals.
How long were you there?
What's that?
Wait, hold on 1 second. Before this is a good place because this is the time we have to sign off the Governor's Network. So, on homicidal maniac is a good place to end this. If you want to hear more about homicidal mania, you got to follow us on the Mind Dog TV network because we're saying goodbye to Govs for today. Thank you, Governors Comedy Club.